All right, we want to welcome everybody out to our Arlington Public Schools Board meeting. I am so happy that so many people are here in the audience and joining us on Zoom. We want to call the meeting to order, and then we will start with our land acknowledgement.
We honor the first peoples of these lands by acknowledging that the area in which we gather is within the traditional territory of the Stillaguamish tribe of Indians. The Stillaguamish people have inhabited these lands and waters since time immemorial, and their ancestors have remained in this territory to this day. The Stillaguamish people have continued to practice the traditional ways of their ancestors of fishing, hunting, and gathering. The Stillaguamish tribe has had these lands and cultural traditions passed on to them by their ancestors who believed that everything has a spirit and that they are caretakers of these lands and waters.
Thank you, Dr. Sweeting. Will everyone please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll next have our roll call attendance. Madam Clerk.
Director Ray,
Here.
Director Kelly,
Here.
Director Kingman,
Here.
President Levesque,
Here.
Director Knapp,
Here.
Student Advisor Schroeder,
Here.
Student Advisor Levon, here, Superintendent Sweden.
Here. Thank you. Next, we'll have our approval of the agenda. Is there any changes to the agenda, or do we have a motion to approve it as presented?
I'll make a motion, we approve the agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. Madam Clerk.
Director Ray.
Aye.
Director Kelly.
Aye.
Director Kingman.
Aye.
President Levesque,
Aye.
Director Knapp.
Aye.
Thank you. The agenda is now approved. We will move right into the most fun part of our meeting tonight is our presentation. We have two student presentations. Haller and Post Middle School will be presenting along with some students. We're excited to hear from you. We'd like to introduce Trevor Summers, our principal at Haller,
I'm actually.
and his sidekick, and then Leslie Olson from Post.
Hello, I'm Brooke Howell, Haller Middle School Assistant Principal, and I'm going to introduce our fearless ASB advisor. Terry Tinton spends an enormous amount of time. I ran ASB for many years at school, so I know the hours she puts in on top of her day. And just provides great leadership for our students. So we have some students here from Haller that are ASB leaders and our leadership club. So, they're gonna stand. Here's some questions. We're gonna stand over here, and then we're gonna do the biggest voices.
Are they going to be cartoon channels? Okay. We are Haller Leadership and ASB. Okay. I'm Elena Twitchell. I'm currently the ASB secretary. I'm Max Caldwell and I'm the 8th grade senator.
I'm Finley Anderson, and I am a member of the leadership class.
I'm Cindy Larson and I'm a member of the leadership class.
I'm Kirsten Nickel and I'm a member of the leadership class.
And I'm Terry Stanton, their teacher and advisor.
So the ASB Executive Council, they are elected prior to the school year being started. They rotate throughout the 5 positions of president, vice president, secretary, parliamentarian, and treasurer. This group also includes the 8th grade senator, which also represents the school and ASB meeting. The leadership class is a body of students that can either sign up for the class or they're put in it because their schedule allows it. Our purpose at Haller
So the executive council met in August and created a mission statement. Our values are respect and kindness. Our goals is to create a school that is safe enough for all students to be themselves. We want every Hawk to feel like they belong at home.
A sample of what we do.
One of our most important jobs is to create a positive school climate that helps everybody feel safe and included. The ways we do this are by putting bulletin boards up with encouraging messages on them to boost student morale. We also send notes to students on Valentine's Day and the start of ASB testing. We also honor many cultures during their months by changing bulletin boards and teaching them about them during the announcements. For example, on each day of Black History Month, we featured a different Black American who might not be known to our students. We end the announcements by telling these people stories.
What?
One of our biggest jobs is to make school fun. We host hootenannies, which are big after-school parties. Also, we plan fun assemblies like our Thanksgiving turkey games. We are planning a walkathon to raise money to buy an ice cream freezer and popcorn machine. We also planned 3 spirit weeks during fall, winter, and spring.
A big part of what we do is communication. We make sure students know what's going on by writing and saying the morning announcements every day. We use ASB money to buy a flat screen display that shows things like which clubs are meeting and what's for lunch. We also make so many posters.
We serve our community. This year's project was a hiking drive to benefit the Arlington Community Resource Center. First period classes competed to get the most hygiene products you could and donate them to the first period teacher. We collected over 1,000 items and about $400 in total.
And my class got beat by 6th graders.
Well,
So I want to talk about it, okay.
We help in lots of other ways, such as chores. We'll take out teachers' recycling. We'll pick up trash around the school and clean up the building. At the beginning of the year, we helped show our school how to meet the expectation and behavior through the behavior walks, where there were stations set up all throughout the school teaching you how to behave and how to act at school. We also do special projects for teachers and staff, like making posters for Teacher Appreciation Week.
We're going to end with some things that students that aren't necessarily here, some of them have learned in leadership this year.
This year in leadership, I've learned that if someone else is the leader and they are not doing the best job, like arguing with people, if you're a calm-headed person, you should start being a leader.
In leadership this year, I learned that you need to learn how to work with others.
In leadership this year, I learned you're better off being a leader than a follower.
In leadership this year, I have learned to work above and beyond. In leadership this year, I have learned how to manage my time.
I learned how to contain life proposals.
I learned how to help around school.
I've learned that everyone's opinion matters.
I learned that teamwork is the dream work.
I learned that every poster is better with glitter.
That's what we have.
This year in
Happy to entertain them.
I have a question. I was wondering, with all the things you've learned this year, what do you think you will take and use for the rest of your life? What kind of leadership lesson do you think will be helpful later on in life?
That you should always step up and speak your truth and don't let others push you down.
One line.
Go ahead.
be a better person just in general, just like to help people out and be a good person.
Did you have something to? Whatever you think.
I have no questions.
Are any of you planning on continuing on leadership classes in high school once you get there?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, good.
I just have one minute to be honest.
That's perfectly fine. Who designs the posters? Like,
All
is
of
it
us.
one, all of you together? You guys do a great job deciding, like, agreeing. Designing them, no.
Separated into 5 groups.
Well, the end product is really nice. Yeah.
It's been a growth experience for a lot of us.
Yeah,
To get to the point where we can make posters and bulletin boards.
that's what it's all about.
Nearly murdering each other.
Art can be passionate, I understand.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Thank you, Heather, students and leaders. We appreciate you. Leslie, would you like to introduce?
I would. Leslie Olson, principal at Coast Middle School. How it's so cool to see the awesome work you guys have going on over there. Past few years, we've highlighted science and leadership. We tried to switch it up tonight, and I'm going to introduce Blake Peterson and some of our English department. And one plug is Character Strong has been a baby for me since I've been here in Arlington, and we launched it at middle schools this year. I'd love for you to see where it's carrying over into our curriculum with our kids and the difference. So Blake, Mr. Peterson, come on up, and our folks, the LA students, and share.
All right. So first of all, thanks for having us. This one's broken up into two different parts, two different projects. Two different projects and kind of things we've been working on the past couple months. We've had some really great opportunities with ELA, and then like Ms. Olson said, how Character Strong has been working and developing in the classroom as well. So we're going to start off with Eiley, and she's going to talk about our Book Madness competition that took place in the month of March for to help expand and inspire some more reading. Next slide.
Hello, thank you for having me tonight. You might be wondering what Book Madness is. Book Madness is like March Madness, but instead of basketball, it's books. The 7th and 8th grade ELA teachers created a list of 64 books, which is a lot of books, so we narrowed it down by voting on book matchups. In every matchup, students voted the book they thought was or would be the most interesting. The goal was to get as many matchups as possible, because with every matchup you got right, you would get a number of points based on which round it was. Rounds were made up of matchups of the advanced books. Matchups were made up of 2 books. The goal was to encourage and motivate students to improve their reading.
Yeah, go next slide.
Offer a variety of genres and topics to students, create ELA-focused dialogue between students, and expose students to more books. Ms. Twitchell helped offer new books to students by putting the 64 books out in the library so students could access them.
Next slide, please.
The teachers separated the books into the genres: realistic fiction, historical and nonfiction, science fiction and fantasy, adventure and thriller. The championship was between
Go ahead, go next slide.
The championship was between The Outsiders and The Hunger Games. I picked The Outsiders, which unfortunately lost The Hunger Games. To create opportunities for new books, the champion, which in this case, The Hunger Games, is retired to create more books for the new event.
Do you have any questions on this before we jump into our next one?
Did you read more books?
Yes.
That's my favorite answer. Okay.
So the Character Strong, did that roll into any of this, would you say?
It definitely encouraged kids to read more and try new books that they wouldn't have thought they would like.
Okay.
A lot more branching out within conversations too.
Sure.
Working with students and, peers that they didn't always work with,
Okay.
and kind of, swaying each other to maybe vote for this book or that book.
So you have to learn the art of,
Yeah, yeah,
persuasion.
exactly, yes, but definitely a lot more interaction between groups of students that you didn't always see interact.
Well, very nice. Always a good thing.
If we don't have any more questions on this one, Addie and Atlas will talk about the I Am Enough project that Miss Weston's class has been working on.
The I'm Enough project is a poster where you can create it and you say over 20 things or more about what you are. And some of the things are I am understanding, I am useful, and I'm smart. And these are kind of ways to compliment yourself.
My experience with the I Am Enough project was educational. Students got to think about their positive traits and what really matters. Crediting yourself for something good that you've done in life helps build well-being and confidence. Making the background for it while coming up with your traits for yourself allows you to spark your own creativity and gives you an opportunity to do something new. As we worked on our projects, I saw very artistic and new beautiful designs. Then, when given the chance to communicate with others whilst doing our assignments, let us bond to meet new people. The entire time I was working, I never saw one face that was upset. In fact, most people were getting along and showing strong compassion for each other. Many kids got small breaks and color and be artistic. It was a good solution because often kids don't get very many breaks. Balanced working and getting rest for a little is not only good for your body, but for your mental health. Persevering and building courage to start something new is more important than you know. Striving to improve is an essential part of life, especially since not everybody can accept change.
Next slide, please.
Students kind of worked on with each other and decided to create their own posters and designs, which helped bond more with other people and friends. And it was really fun to create because you also got to compliment yourself and you got to create more ways and posters. These are some examples of the I Am Enough posters.
Do you have any questions?
I will share. Miss Weston couldn't be here, so like helps my bet. I got to go observe. I want to share that it wasn't easy for every kid to come up with reasons why they are enough. And it not only allowed a way for teachers to step in and mentor and think outside the box, but it really pushed kids to make connections and identify things. And it was really, really powerful, much more than we could have ever anticipated. And so important stuff happening anyway too. So I just want to share.
So do you think students work with each other to find those words of support or encouragement? Yeah.
Mhm.
And was this I'm trying to think of what situation you would not have been released. So was it one course or was it one class or were there
It was
classes?
all of Miss Weston's 7th grade ELA. So she
Oh,
has,
so all of those at this one moment. Oh, okay, yeah, I can see how the students who weren't necessarily mixing were now introduced
and
to.
they use the library for greater space and more
Sure.
table space.
Nice. Good, very nice. I think that's a very important concept. That's great to have that as young people. Didn't really have that when I was younger, and I think that we need to do all the things we can to affirm belief in ourselves. That's positive. Yeah, that's great.
I wish I would have done a project like this in 7th grade. I was in college and we did something like this and it would have helped me through high school, but I'm wondering if there was any surprises that came up as you were going through this project.
A little bit because you didn't know what to say and you had to try to communicate with other people to try to come up with some things.
I was surprised by the amount of communication between groups and how well people were getting along, trying to come up with different ways. And people trying or learning how capable they really are.
I was gonna say, what help did you give each other? Was there some kids that couldn't think of enough things about how they felt good about themselves? Were you able to help them feel better about themselves and
We definitely shared some of the words that we already had on our posters, and then our own vocabulary words in the ELA that we were learning. We could put those into our projects as well.
I think too, it's that concept of things you're proud of yourself for, not what other people want to hear, or what other people might, you don't want, not people pleasing, but yourself pleasing. In those discussions were really powerful.
I appreciate you bringing this to us. This is really impactful, not only with their mental health, but also it helps them learn that they can learn. And we all want everybody to learn as much as possible. So, thank you very much. Anybody else have any other questions for our brave students? I think you are more than enough. Thank you. That's so much fun to have students present to us. Next up, we are going to have the Teacher and Educator Appreciation Week presentation recognition, and there will be lots of participants. Dr. Sweeting, you want to bring up all the people? And thank you all the middle schooler families. You're welcome to stay for the whole rest of the meeting, or you can leave anytime you want. It's up to you. Enjoy the sun.
Thank you.
No, I don't think I talked to anybody. Scary.
Well, no, I mean,
Yes, you're coming.
Look, the front row's open now.
Hopefully this nice presentation.
Okay. It's, the 1st of May, we take a pause to thank our teaching staff, our certificated staff for the amazing work that they do with our students. They are the hands and the heart and the head and the running feet to take care of the learning that happens in the classroom. And so it's an official week this week for honoring the certificated staff, our teachers, and those that support the teachers in the classroom as well, and our ESAs. And so we're going to read a proclamation. The cabinet team is going to do that. And then we have, after that, we've got a little slideshow briefly. And we were hoping that we had the leadership of our association, but I'm not sure if Jason's on yet. But we will still go ahead and honor our amazing teachers and certificated staff. So I'd like cabinet to come join me. Okay. Any hearts? Oh, you're gonna look here. I'll let them get themselves patronized. Okay. Whereas every child in Washington has the right to a quality public education that meets their needs and gives them the tools for a successful future, and
whereas over 140,000 teachers and school staff provide expertise, passion, and creativity to deliver high-quality teaching and services and inspire curiosity, interest, and achievement among the more than 1 million students in our schools. And
whereas teachers and educators work to create welcoming, inclusive environments where each child feels seen and valued. And
whereas teachers and educators are meeting increased student mental and behavioral health needs with compassion and support. And
whereas long after completing our schooling, each of us can speak to the deep impact a teacher or educator had on us, our success, our development, and our self-worth.
Therefore, I, Jay Inslee, Governor of the State of Washington, do hereby proclaim May 8th through 12th, 2023 as Teacher and Educator Appreciation Week in Washington, and I encourage all people in our state to join me in this special observance.
So, Debbie, I think that Eric, you'll give a special. I just want to share the PowerPoint that we have. And I also want to say that we have a teacher on our board. So Sherry, I want to thank you for not only being an amazing educator in the classroom, but also being and serving on our school board. That you give us that perspective right from the classroom, as a kindergarten classroom. Thank you very much. So we have this PowerPoint, we, just kind of the emphasis or the theme for this is, the Teacher and Educator Appreciation Week that's, you know, serving from the heart. Pardon? What?
Subject writer.
Sorry.
You're good. Okay. Caring, caring for our students, it's a work from the heart, which it truly is. And we just want to say thank you, and the rest of this, you can scroll down, or am I doing this? It goes all on its own. Oh, it does, okay. It goes on its own?
Yes, it will.
Okay, well, I'm ready. I'm ready for it.
Well, thank you very much for recognizing all the things that our teachers do every day for our students. We appreciate you and are so grateful for all that you do to help our kids learn and become amazing lifelong learners. So going back down. And next up on our agenda is our WASA Snow Isle 109 Honorary Awards Recognition Event. And this will also be presented by Dr. Sweeting.
So it is an honor to share with you some very special individuals. And these are individuals that are going to be forever in the history of Arlington, because there is a plaque where their name will be placed. And so the first person I would like to recognize is for our Leadership for Student Achievement Award. This award is for someone that a leader in our district that's making a difference in learning, a difference in achievement for our students. And we've been giving this award out since 2014. So there's been one, I think, pretty much for every year. And this year, this award goes to Carrie Henderson Burke, our Executive Director of Teaching and Learning, for her efforts in moving forward the universal design for learning and bringing those practices so that we can increase access and address all the barriers that are to learning. So Carrie, where are you? Your name's already on it too.
Oh.
Just. In fact, you can stand right here. The next plaque is Outstanding Community Recognition Award. And this award has been given to members from our community since 2013 for their support of the learning and achievement of our students. Not only that, but the emotional development, academic development of our students. And there's a group of people on here that have done many, many different things to support our students. So this year, it goes to two people who are from Youth Dynamics. One of them is with us tonight, Brittany Kleiman. So just come up with Brittany. She would be here, but she's
recouping from surgery.
Yes, so she can't be here, which I'm sad, but so both these amazing people, Jessica and Brittany, have saved us in a lot of ways. They have on Friday afternoons when we have early dismissals, we have an army, like 150 students that march out the school doors, and they go down to Legion Park or places down in downtown. And Brittany and Jessica, through Youth Dynamics, have created a safe place in Legion Park where they can get pizza, they can engage in games, they can tell me more, Brittany, all the different things that you've done with them to keep them in healthy and active and fun, safe activities.
Well, we early last spring kind of answered a call from businesses in the city that we didn't have things for these kids to do with the early release. And kids have been going downtown Arlington on Fridays for many, many years. You know, this isn't new, but that extra little bit of time was creating some problems. So we decided to kind of adopt Legion Park. It started with once a month and then twice a month, and now we do it every single Friday. And we hang out for about an hour and a half to 2 hours down there, and we have a mixture of different games. We've partnered with other organizations in the community. We always have food and snacks and candy to keep them fed. That's what usually draws them in. And then we just play games and hang out with them, give them a safe place with safe adult leadership. So you'll see us out there. We were playing 9 square in the snow in December. On Friday, it was pouring down rain, and we were serving nachos for Cinco de Mayo.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you so much. So the next plaque, it's fairly, there's only one name on it so far because this is new. This is a new award that through WASA, and WASA is the Washington Association of School Administrators, and they sponsor these awards, but we select the individuals within our district. And this is a student leadership award for a student or students who have really fostered equitable practices, social justice, helping kids to belong, helping them to excel and to be growing and learning in many ways that make a difference in their lives. And so this is the first one from 2023. So one of the students is able to be here with us tonight, and that's Jocelyn. She told me how to say her last name, Contioso. Or she. Jocelyn and Catherine Fury, they're both a part of our Student Advisory Council. And we interviewed them to be part of the district equity team, and they have been both instrumental. And I'm gonna have to say a few words if you don't mind. Yeah.
Wow, this is really an honor to be the first one. As like a POC woman, it's really hard to bring out my voice, but being on this committee is really special to me because I'm able to be a voice for those who cannot and who are scared to be. So yeah, thank you.
Yes. All right, here we go. Look right here. Perfect. 3, 2, 1, hold it.
Was that gonna be in the background?
Yeah, Candy.
Oh, yeah, doing a little, oh, yeah.
Right, let me share.
Let's not do that.
funny.
Here, let's,
Why'd you have the board?
yeah, let's just
Yeah.
kind of angle it over there a little bit.
Right with.
Yeah, they can do right.
Sense right here in the corner.
In fact, I'm happy to stand in front of the owls, let's have you stand kind of like right there.
No pressure.
You know, perfect. Always with the owl. All right, here we go. Take two, nice big smiles, hold it. No blinking. That's perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
You can hold those and show them to others, and you can put them back on that. That'd be great. Joan too, you're standing.
They get funny.
They'll be hung on the outside in the hallway forever. Forever. That's a long time.
All right, thank you. That's so fun. Thank you for recognizing our awesome leaders in our community. And thank you for all that you do. And it should be nice weather this Friday.
Obstacles.
We'll switch gears. Next up on our agenda is our approval of minutes. We have two sets of minutes. We have our regular meeting minutes from April 24th and our special meeting event attendance minutes from April 26th. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from April 24th? Or are there any changes that need to be made?
Make a motion, we approve the regular meeting minutes from April 24th.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the regular meeting minutes from April 24th as presented. Madam Clerk. Director Ray,
Aye.
Director Kelly. Director Kingman.
Aye.
President Levesque. Aye. Director Nat.
Aye.
And then, do we have a motion to approve our special meeting event attendance minutes? for 2016?
I make a motion, we approve the special meeting event attendance minutes, April 26th, 2023.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the special meeting event attendance minutes from April 26th. Madam Clerk. Director Ray.
Aye.
Director Kelly.
Aye.
Director Kingman.
Aye.
President Levesque. Aye. Director Nat. Aye. Thank you. The minutes are adopted. Next up, we have the portion of our meeting that we would have our public comments. I don't have anybody pre-registered for public comments. Is there anybody in the audience that is interested in giving a public comment? Okay, we'll skip that part and I will not have to read the script. Next up is our consent agenda, which consists of our personnel report, our payroll report, our warrants, adjusted warrants, an overnight trip for the Arlington High School boys tennis to state, overnight trip for the Arlington High School track to state championships, and a resolution delegating authority to Washington Interscholastic Activities Association, WIAA. Is there anything anyone would like to pull from the consent agenda? Or do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I'll make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Madam Clerk. Director Ray.
Aye.
Director Kelly.
Aye.
Director Kingman.
Aye.
President Levesque. Aye. Director Nat. Aye. All right, consent agenda is approved. Thank you. Next, we'll have our new business portion of our meeting. And the first item there is our report of the donations approved by the superintendent for April.
So during April, I approved a donation for $1,600 from $610 from the Eagle Creek PTA. They raised funds through a fundraiser at Domino's Pizza and will help to pay down the school lunch debt for Eagle Creek students. For those students that, could not pay their lunch bill, this will be paid for. Right. So very, very nice, very generous.
Does it cover all of the student debt for lunches?
Well, it says to help pay down, so it does not pay for the whole debt.
Good. All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. Next up is our annual health room update. It's been a busy health room year. We would like to welcome, I'm not sure if Dave McKellar is here.
We'll just go ahead and introduce Chris on.
And Krista Kramer, our district nurse. Best district nurse.
And these ones.
And all of our amazing. Yeah.
Okay, for the shot. Yeah, come back to that. Board, I am here with these wonderful nurses and health room assistants, part of our team. Not everybody could be here tonight doing other things. Just to give you a quick update of what we've been doing so far this year. Okay, so just a quick recap of the health conditions, some of the health conditions that our buildings look at every single day. I just wanted to point out too, as I look at the health conditions and I compared our heavy hitters, our anaphylaxis, our diabetics, our asthma, every single one went up this year from years past. So 431 life-threatening health conditions. I ran this report 2 weeks ago. Since then, we've had added care plans come in, even in the last 2 weeks. It kind of, it surprises me, I guess, how many students are still registered in May with a month and a half of school left, but they absolutely do. And so the numbers are not exact even today. So total health conditions that we have in our district that we know about. So of course, we know there's lots more than this that parents don't tell us about. Looking at about 3,379. Okay. Next slide, please. Health room visits. So I did a comparison here as well. I ran these numbers on April 13th. So as of April 13th, we had just under 32,000 health room visits this school year. And that also, it's the numbers are up there, not counting all of the, I tell you this every year, all of the Band-Aids and all of the little things that they come in and your nurses and health room assistants are looking right at them, doing a quick assessment of them as they walk through, but probably, even with all the hours in the day, don't have time to even do all of those health room visits. So that's a ton. I ran the numbers again today. So 2 weeks later, and we're at 36,361. The screenings that we've been doing, our vision referrals are going down. That's awesome. That means we are screening these kids, we're sending out letters, they're getting checked, and the number of referrals are going down, as with our hearing referrals. That's what we want to see. So thank you to our SLPs who do the hearing testing for us and the Lions Club that helps with that. And then medication orders. So just meds in the schools, 679 medication orders. That's just all the different meds we give every day or as needed. Lots and lots of med orders. And then treatments. Treatments are the big things. Oxygen, anytime we break the skin, that would be a treatment order. Our diabetics, things like that. Next slide, please. This is exciting news for us. So we've been working really hard over the past 5 years, bringing our vaccination rates down in our buildings. And these group of nurses have done a wonderful, wonderful job. I think district-wide, we still are down to about 22 students out of compliance, meaning they either don't have all the vaccinations they need, or they don't have a certificate of exemption out, exempting them out. That's really awesome, 22. This recently, in the last couple of months, we have moved to, it was our choice, but it was becoming not a choice to what's called school module. And it is a partnership with the Department of Health and Skyward. So they ask us to be all on one system. And the benefit of that in the long run really is for our students. This system will then give them a lifelong access to their vaccinations. So whether they want to get a job that requires proof of vaccination or travel or colleges, different schools, they have all that and they can register themselves and just have forever all of this information. It will take us a bit to get there and get everything onboarded. We will get there. We know it will be a really slow process, but that's what we're working on probably over the next couple of years. Next slide, please. I just really, again, wanted to give a shout out to our nurses in our building. So we have nurses or a health room assistant on almost every single campus across our district. Shelley and Nancy
kind of cover in the event of an emergency as Silly Valley, they're close and on the same campus, but all the other campuses have a licensed nurse other than Weston. They have Brianna out there who takes that on and wears that hat really well. And so this is our group of licensed staff here. Next slide, please. And I wanted to give also a huge shout out over the last couple of years to our health room assistants and our float nurse. We have two here today. They have been such tremendous help for us over the last couple of years. We honestly could not have done it with all the extra help that we needed during COVID. And you can tell by those 36,000 health room visits that we need their fingers and documentation and skills for that as well. So that is my update for this year. Thank you to these guys. Do you have any questions?
Remind me again how much the state reimburses us or covers. What is the prototypical school model? What did that cover for school nurses?
Exactly. The state reimburses us for one, I think, 1.7 nurse position in the district is what.
For the whole district? Yes, yeah. So the rest is.
So the rest is
Local,
absorbed,
okay.
yes, other places, not.
I can't imagine 36,000 visits with 1.7.
No, I can't either. Well, how could our secretaries and the staff take 36,000 visits on? That's just asking too much. So, yeah, we have to have these guys for that and for so many other things that they take care of every single day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking good care of our kids. And happy Nurses Week too. Thank you. Next up is our K-5 learning technology proposal. We'd like to welcome our Director of Technology, Matt Jurek.
Thank you, President Levesque. Directors, good evening. Pleasure to be here. It's my first presentation to you, so I'm very excited. It's an exciting topic I'm going to share with you tonight, and I'm going to try and be as succinct as possible. I have the curse of storytelling, so I'm going to try and keep this to the point, but know that I am happy to take a deeper dive on any questions that you have. So, and I may be a little shaky, not a huge public speaker, but I'm gonna give it the best shot. Okay, so I'm here tonight to talk about our one-to-one program. So this project came up, this topic came up in the fall. We had two conversations that were kind of happening simultaneously. Within our tech department, we were identifying that we're going to need to augment our fleet of devices in time for the 23-24 school year. We've been in this routine where we add every year. We needed to have more for next year to keep our one-to-one ratio. At the same time, we were having conversations in our technology advisory committee, and some of the conversations were coming up. K-5 has some sentiments about technology, more along the lines of they feel a little bit at times that K-5 might get kind of a hand-me-downs of technology as far as that's concerned, and that's common. Arlington by no way is unique in this. It's very common that the older grades get the higher tech, with the rationale being that they're going to use it more, and then the older stuff kind of trickles down. So we had these two conversations at the same time, and so we thought, can we kind of put these things together? So we did some research, we did surveys, emails, countless emails back and forth. We did a lot of face-to-face meetings, went to every K-5 building and had conversations with the staff. And so we put together as much as we could, all the information, all the feedback on what we're doing, where we could possibly improve. And we came up with a single proposal, which is before you tonight, hopefully for your approval. And this proposal is a new device cohort for our grades K through 5. So before we get to that, I think it's important we talk about our Chromebooks in general. So this is really going to come as little surprise to most, but our Chromebooks are limited in their functionality. They do certain things and they do them well for us. And they were very instrumental in getting us through the years of the pandemic. We are grateful that we've had them. They're very they made it possible. However, they do still have those limitations. So kind of the key pieces being, and I can touch on any individually if you'd like, but really these are consumption-based devices. The idea is that they funnel people onto the internet and where they then consume content. So that could be streaming video, streaming audio, doing research. There's very little opportunity for Chromebooks to be used in creative ways to do student creation for learning artifacts. We have Google Docs and we have Google Slides, but that's really about it. A couple of the other pieces to touch on, limited adaptability. It means that we really don't have the ability to adapt the individual device to the individual student. Base that we can get to is one grade level. So we can do one grade level at one school to do customization, but nothing beyond that. And then the best way I can put it is economical quality. That's the nicest phrase I think I can use. So if we get into the operational standpoint, so we were not one-to-one prior to 2020. We were able to do so because we had an infusion of federal grants. We have seen over the past 3 years a steady increase in devices that are coming back for repairs and total damage. We would estimate conservatively that we see 100 devices a week that are coming in for repair. And this is just taking up a lot of time. We repair them, we get them back out into the buildings, and then we have another stack waiting on Monday. So this is a constant cycle that we're in. We're still seeing substantial loss every year, and really the equipment is just not designed to last. And don't take our word for it. So even back in 2010, when Google released, the Chromebook to the world, they called them disposable, and they knew what they were doing, I think, even at that time. And so as we're seeing right now, coming out of the pandemic, more and more districts are facing the same issue that we are. And so there are reports, there are studies being done right now, all coming out to light about the e-waste that's being created by Chromebooks. They're breaking down, they're being replaced too soon, and they're costing tons of money. So all of this is background because as we were looking at what do we do for next year, we asked ourselves, is there a better way to go forward? Oh, and that's our warehouse here. So we have our own couple of pallets of devices ready for disposal.
That's the disposal.
Yes.
How
And
many-
that's probably about 500. And you'll see later in my slideshow where we're going to have thousands that are going to be coming out over the next couple of years. So we did a survey. We surveyed K-5 and we asked them, what would you like student technology to look like in your classroom next year? And we got a lot of responses, but a lot of them included things of this nature: iPads, tablets, something that was touch-based, something that had apps. So we took this feedback and put together a proposal that we then fleshed out. And we said, let's take a look at iPads. So historically, we've had iPads here in the past. Many districts have. But then we kind of moved away from iPads. And many districts did this. When iPads came out in 2010, they were very popular in the education space because people started to see the potential. Around 2013, we started to see a decline. And that was because schools were starting to realize the hardship of managing devices, of scoping apps, of trying to control them. It just wasn't there. So we've had all of these issues with iPads. When I brought this around to all of our stakeholders, they brought up many of these topics. So we were like, iPads, yeah, this is what we had in mind. Since 2018, though, when Apple made a really big turnaround into the education space, it's almost a total 180, which has warranted us giving this another consideration. So all of the big topics, the reasons why we moved away in the first place, have all been addressed. So that leaves us to having our conversation about, is this a viable option as our proposed solution for our problems? I'm not going to go through all the individual pieces, but as far as like shared functionality, the core pieces that we use our Chromebooks to do, both platforms will do each of them equally. When we get into some functionality differences, we see the iPad starts to shine a little bit brighter, particularly offline use, so it's not tethered to the internet. It has the wide array of touchscreen-based applications that build into that accessibility for certain students that need additional supports. We have creative applications, the pieces I was talking about, so students can choose any number of different outlets for creating their learning artifacts beyond just a Word doc or a Google Doc or a slide. And then accessibility. So accessibility on iPads is huge. It's why we continue to still use iPads even in our special programs here in the district, is because they're very powerful as far as accessibility. And then, yes, the Chromebook has some USB accessory support, but it's not typically something that we see leveraged too often in K5. Again, won't go into all of these, but when we start looking even at the nitty gritties, the technical comparisons, the iPad is a superior device as far as the specs go. It's going to give students and teachers more capabilities to leverage more powerful applications. This is an interesting one where I think this is one of the biggest points that I'd like to call attention to, is that the proposal that I'm going to put forward for you tonight is that the iPads will include 3 full years, not just of a warranty, but of accidental damage, which is really huge. So even if an iPad suddenly flies across the classroom, never happens, but in the event that an iPad is just totally destroyed and it wasn't a manufacturer defect, we send it back, we get another one in its place for those 3 years. So that takes a huge amount of time and effort off of the team who are constantly in this repair cycle. The last piece I want to call attention on the iPad is that it is a much stronger UDL tool for the classroom. From the custom management, so when we can scope out individual policies to individual students, when we can do that for apps, if you have a special ed student who needs a particular app, or a high cap student, or a gen ed student, we can customize this experience for each individual student. Enhanced accessibility tools, the greater variety for creativity. And then as we look at this as an equality and equity piece, you know, with the equality piece, everyone would have the same device, but as soon as they open it, it's what they need it to be, and it serves their purposes. So after all of this, we took this and revised proposal, all this information back to our K5 educators, and we did another study, and with just one question. So this is where our K5 educators are weighing in. But now the tech budgeting piece, let's look at the money. That's hugely important. So this is our tech budget over the past 6 years. And what we can see is our student hardware piece represented on the top row, and then our total technology, material supplies, and operating costs are right below that, and then showing the percent. This is an important piece for me philosophically, is I really believe that we should try and strive to get as much of the dollar into the student's experience as we can. And so where we can see the allocation and how much we've been putting into that. We did receive ECF grants in 21-22. That's what helped bridge us to get enough devices. And that's why we have it crossed out for this year. We didn't purchase any additional devices this year because we didn't need to. Cost comparison between these. So the iPad bundle, which is the device, the keyboard case, 3-year warranty, and the 3-year accidental coverage is $399 per. For context, last time we purchased Chromebooks, which was last year, was $372 per. We have a life expectancy difference. The iPads are rated to last longer, so we'll get a little bit more use out of them. Plus, part of our proposal is that we can exercise the device buyback option after year 4, where it's a guaranteed $50 back per device that's working. And if we do that, then it really brings that price down actually to $349 per versus $372. So we could potentially still see a savings over those 5 years, but we think we'll see a savings anyway because of some of the services the iPad does that we currently have to spend money on for auxiliary purposes. Quick timeline of where we are in the proposal. This K5 iPad lease would last us 5 school years, get us out to the end of 27-28. We do have options along the way should we choose. At the end of the 4-year mark, we have that optional $50 sell back. At the end, we could decide to buy them out for $1. If we think they're going to last us a 6th year, we could buy them for $1, and then we get another year for basically no lease payment. Or we could just go into a new lease when we have options when it comes to that time. What this does is it helps us pull those devices, those current Chromebooks out of K5, puts them into our existing 612 pool, and now we can squeeze this turnip just a little bit more and hopefully get 3 years. We know we'll get 2, we think we can get 3. Within some enhanced policies, procedures, trying to keep on top of that. If you look at the bottom, we'll see devices cohorts that are coming out of service over the next couple of years. So at the end of next school year, we're losing 1,200 Chromebooks. The end of the year after that, 1,100, and then a big drop after 25-26, we're losing 3,400 of our current devices. So that's really at the mark where we would want to be looking at what's next for 612. but it gives us some runway to figure this out. So this is the proposal I brought for you tonight. The idea is to lease 2,700 iPads. We were able to get a 1.5 finance rate for 60 months. This works out to about $265K a year, and we're planning to fit this within our existing tech budget. The tech budget will not go up, therefore the overall budget impact of this will not be anything in positive. This is based on a 2,454 student enrollment as of this morning with a 10% buffer. The buffer gives us a couple of options to do with that. Needing it for swaps, for hopefully enrollment increases, particular student circumstances, teacher loaners, and replacement stock. And then we have our optional buybacks and lease buyout. This is how it then fits in the proposal with our timeline so far. Giving us approximately 53%, which isn't even the highest. Our highest was in 2021 at 55, as far as percent of the total budget that we've used for student tech. Okay, that was the shortest it's been yet, Carrie. Whew. Questions, yeah.
So we're not, this is how we would, this is a choice of technology. It doesn't cost new money. You're just saying allocating the money we have, opting for the iPad versus the Chromebook.
Correct.
That's all this is. Okay, so that's good. I think we need to know that. It's not a money endeavor, it's a choice. I myself being a teacher, I would love to have something for 18 of my kiddos, and kindergarten is really not even an option for where I work, which makes me sort of sad because when we test on a Chromebook, these kids have no skills. And it's so unfriendly, it drives me nuts because you're getting bad data because you're using a mouse, they're used to touch screen.
Right.
We have to constantly remind them, they have a headphone on. It's so many things that you're just not getting good data.
We're not, it's not a fair comparison.
No, it's absolutely not. So I personally myself like the iPad suggestion. And when you look at the really, I mean, you listed several benefits. I think that's great. You clearly defined it for us. Thank you. Thank you.
Do our student advisors have any questions?
I have no questions. I remember having an iPad in elementary school and I loved it. That's my contribution.
Few questions, but I was thinking about a couple. Okay, what does hot swappable mean? Was that?
Yeah, I brought that up and then I did, trying to breeze through things. So the hot swappable idea, it's kind of marketed as a benefit, but in reality, in practice, we're seeing this as a cause of a lot of our problems. So a hot swappable device means a student can jump onto another device, sign in, and get going right away. So while this could be marketed as a benefit that a Chromebook, you can jump onto a Chromebook right away and just get going, what this has led to is a little bit of a, well, I don't need to bring my equipment. I can just use a loaner. I can just use the classroom.
Yeah, I have a child. Says that.
Right. So it's kind of de-emphasized the importance of having your one-to-one device with you.
Okay. And then just kind of maybe some questions that you can't, I don't know, but
Right.
thinking about accessibility and some of the apps that you mentioned. So right now, like the talk to text or the having the text read to them. That were you saying like a whole grade needs to have that app right now, whereas the iPad you could individually.
So where we're going with that is that the adaptability. So if we wanted to customize the experience for a student, the smallest gradation that we could do is a grade level at a school. So if this student needed this particular app or setup on their desktop, we have to do it for all students in their grade. Whereas with the iPad, we could go individualize. The accessibility piece is like the talk, text to speech, speech to text translation. These are all native on the iPad. They don't require additional apps. So
included.
Right.
Yeah, I guess I'm a little bit worried about the students who are getting ready to transition, like they're at that 4 or 5 grade now, and then they'll have, maybe they don't have that piece now. And then they will have it for a year or two and then go into middle school and not have that.
It's a valid concern, as we're looking at, are you gonna hit the end of the road? And then, once we get to middle school, it's a totally different experience. What our hope is that if we can provide a solid solution right now that just seemingly works, it works better, works in the background, we can develop those technology skills. And so it's a little bit easier of a transition to go from an iPad to a Chromebook because the experience, I mean, when you hit the Chromebook, you're not going to gain functionality, you're going to kind of lose it. So, but you keep, so any students who are doing Google Slides, Google Docs, they'll still continue doing that the same K-5 as they would 6A. It's just the additional pieces, which were really great and beneficial, wouldn't be available to them necessarily.
Right, yeah, I guess I was just thinking about those IEP students who could really use some of the things that are available on that.
We still do, some students who have IEPs that have identified iPad as a necessary component to that. We still do that right now.
Okay.
And we would continue that practice. So if there was a stated need in an IEP or a 504, we'd honor that.
Awesome, thank you.
Are the teachers and staff gonna need some instruction on how to use these in a
Totally.
different way? And is that part of your plan?
Totally. So we're committing very much to a comprehensive professional learning plan because, and I've been studying one-on-one programs for a long time. It's an interest. What we've seen before the pandemic was that deployments of one-to-one typically would span between 12 and 18 months of preparation before the devices actually, came into the classroom. We, as many other districts, didn't have that opportunity. We just had to deploy and we had to go. Now is our time. We're able to step back and take a breath and kind of go back and do those steps that we didn't have time to do before. So even if we weren't doing iPads, our plan was to do more comprehensive professional learning around the idea of using one-to-one tech in your classrooms. So that it's meaningful, so that it aligns, so that they're not just substituted devices for typing up a report, for example. So regardless of the platform, professional learning is high on our focus list for next year. For this, we are looking at, if we pivot to iPads, we'll be doing, of course, some comprehensive summer academy sessions, but then we're going to do some ongoing in consultation with the principals and Director Henderson Burke in how we can schedule that onto the district-wide PL calendar.
Thank you.
So you have to have a segue. The learning curve might be kind of steep for some people.
Sure. And where we've approached this also with our teachers is this is really you can approach it how you're comfortable. So we can set up with our management system, we can set up a Chromebook or an iPad that only has Chromebook type features. So we can just put the Google apps on it, take everything else out. And if all you want to do right now is use what you're used to using
On that, yeah.
on that iPad, the experience will look a little different until you get into the slides or docs or internet browser. But once you're there, it's the same. Then if you're ready, when you're ready, you can scaffold and then, do more with you.
Director Kingman, any questions? Director Ray, any questions?
No questions for me. I think it's a great proposal and looking forward to supporting it.
So this is an action item. Does anybody want to make a motion?
I make a motion, we support the
K-5 learning
K-5
technology.
learning technology proposal with one from maybe Chromebook 2 and one for K-5.
A second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the K-5 learning technology proposal as presented.
Director Ray,
Aye.
Director Kelly,
Aye.
Director Kingman.
Aye.
President Levesque,
Aye.
Director Knapp.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you, directors.
Look forward to hearing how those kids learn.
For sure.
And you did an amazing job. On your very
The first one down.
First one done. Smooth sailing after the first one. All right, next up, we're gonna have our Boys and Girls Club of Snohomish County proposed early access agreement, and this will be presented by Brian Lewis.
Good evening, directors. Earlier this year, we brought to you an update regarding the A building and the A building task force, the work of the A building task force. And I just wanted to give you some additional background about that. The A building task force is a committee of community members and some staff members from the school district that guided and provided feedback regarding what should the future of the A building look like. This work resulted in the conduct of a request for letters of interest process in 2022, soliciting proposals from organizations interested in partnering with us via a long-term lease to improve the old Arlington High School A building and operate community service programs from that space. The one proposal was received from the Arlington, or excuse me, from the Snohomish County Boys and Girls Club. The proposal was reviewed with the committee. Committee directed us to move forward with that proposal, and we brought it to you. You told us to continue negotiating with the Boys and Girls Club. This is the first step in that negotiation process, is providing a right of entry agreement to the Snohomish County Boys and Girls Club to allow the organization to enter the building and do an evaluation structure and to employ consultants and professionals to come in and do the same thing in the spaces that we would lease to them, which would be the second and third floors of the building. This is the second iteration of this process. We're glad to get a response and bring it to you tonight for your consideration. The time period would be the first initial, not time period is 90 days with up to 2 additional periods of 90 days. So a total of 270 days total potential to allow the inspections to be completed. We would provide reasonable access to the property during business hours. In return, the Boys and Girls Club would indemnify and hold us harmless from any liability or claims and provide us liability insurance, certificate of liability insurance, and not alter the building in any way. And they could ask us, but we're likely to say no. We can't make any changes, and that would include the stripping testing. And not act in such a way that would allow a lien to attach to the building because of the action. Boys and Girls Club. It gives them also the right to terminate the agreement at any time. And we could terminate as well if the potential lessor doesn't live up to their obligations. It also doesn't bind us to any kind of future agreement with them. And it binds both parties to be confidential about the findings of their inspection. That's the basics of the agreement provided to you attached to the board plan. I'd be happy to answer your questions you may have.
Director Ray, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Do our student advisors have any questions?
No questions.
Everybody knows what the A building is? Yes. All right, this is an action item. We have a motion to approve the Boys and Girls Club of Snohomish County proposed early access agreement. That's presented.
I'll make a motion. We approve the Boys and Girls Club of Snohomish County proposed early access agreement.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the Boys and Girls Club of Snohomish County proposed early access agreement as presented. Madam Clerk.
Director Ray,
Aye.
Director Kelly.
Aye.
Director Kingman.
Aye.
President Levesque,
Aye.
Director Knapp.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
I look forward to hearing more reports on this later.
We send a copy.
Next up, we'll have our survey results regarding our early dismissals. Fritz favorite. And this will be presented by Dr. Sweeting. This is just a briefing and a discussion. What games do we have this Friday, Brett? Is there any water involved?
We're planning water for the last Friday of the school year. That's gonna be a big batch. And last year we had over 330 kids come down on the last Friday of the school year. So
I remember.
we're planning big.
Thank you again. So recently we sent out a survey to students, staff and families, and there were 2 questions on there about the early dismissal dates. There are many questions, but there were 2 related to this, and I wanted to share with the board tonight just the results of the survey based, on just those 2 questions. So, but a little bit of history. So why Friday early dismissal days? So in June of 2019, there was a recommendation to the board by the Advisory Council for Education Committee to explore or study the topic about having either late arrivals or early dismissals, to provide weekly opportunities for staff development, collaboration, and training, as well as provide a regular schedule of early dismissal, making it easy for parents. Because at that time, we had early dismissal days not on a regular basis, but throughout the year on 5 different days. And they were longer. They weren't an hour and 15 minutes. They were like 3 hours. They were longer, maybe almost 3 hours. So that was a recommendation by the ACE committee, which is comprised of staff, parents, students, administrators. So it's a, in fact, Brittany is our chair of the ACE committee this year. Then between 2019 and 2021, there was a district committee formed to study this. The ACE committee did that work too, but then there was a task force that worked out alongside the ACE committee. But then there was a pause during the COVID time. But also during those 2 years, we sent out surveys asking this was the first survey that went out asking staff, students, and families about this. Questions about whether the day should be Friday or Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, or whether it should be early dismissal or a late arrival. So it was determined based on the survey results that the 21-22 school year, which is the first year of implementation, that we would do 1 hour and 15 minutes early dismissal on Fridays. And then this year is the second year of implementation, and we've done the same. So just a little bit of history on where we've been in the purpose. So I also wanted to share about the surrounding districts of what they do. Districts have this need too, to have professional development learning for their staff. Lakewood does Friday early dismissal, Marysville Friday early dismissal, Stanwood Wednesday late start, Everett Friday early dismissal, and Granite Falls Wednesday early dismissal. So I wanted to give you a little bit of a near us. So for this recent survey, we had 1,045 student responses, and the question was, early dismissal for staff professional development training has taken place on Fridays for the past 2 years. If the district were to change from Fridays to a different day, which day would you prefer? So 78.4% said they still prefer Fridays. And then a small little sliver, the orange is Wednesdays. So the first was Wednesdays and the next day was, the first day was Friday and the next day was Wednesday. So that was our student voice on that. Next slide is the group. Next slide, staff responses. We had 366 staff responses. You can see that there's a large number, almost 75%. So 74% keep Friday as an early dismissal day. However, Wednesday, same as students, came up second. 809 family responses. 91.8% said wow. Friday, and the second one, which is a tiny sliver, small sliver, is Wednesday. So Fridays and Wednesdays were highlighted. However, Friday was very much favored by all three. So then we asked the question of the three groups: if the district were to change from the current early dismissal to a late start, which would you prefer? Students said 61% said the early dismissal, and 35% said late start. So they seem to think, some of them think, that might be good. Sleep in a little bit longer. Staff's responses said 76% said early dismissal, and almost 24% said late start. Families, 82, almost 83% said early dismissal, and 17.5 said late start. But this time, the Friday stands out, as the day and the early dismissal. Here's a look at the absences on these Fridays, because it does concern us, about absenteeism, because if kids are not at school, it's hard for them to be engaged in the learning. So I asked Director Hogeson to show me the numbers for Wednesdays and Fridays. So you can see this is from comparing last year to this year. And we tried to pick dates that were around the same, so you can see that there are more absences on Fridays. Except for, we noticed that for Weston,
Interesting.
and we don't know why, but it's
Maybe because Fridays are shorter, they're easier.
maybe. Could be.
Stay
So
in
it's
school.
So just, wanted to pay attention, we do pay attention to this, and we want it. So thoughts, we're not voting on anything tonight, but we will be bringing a calendar next board meeting. The last board meeting, we approved key dates, but we haven't approved the whole calendar which includes conferences and early dismissals. So my thought is based on the survey results that we maintain Friday, at least for next year. We keep thinking about this, but maintain Fridays for next year. But I also am recommending that we reduce from the 75 minutes to 60, so that we're not caught in a situation like we have been this year for the snow days when the late starts because of snow or other weather related challenges, or even like no electricity, because we had that as well. Now we continue to monitor the absences, that we continue to monitor and evaluate the format, by doing surveys, talking to staff, because it's not just, it's also about what's taking place during that time, and is that valuable? Is an hour going to be enough, to do what they need to do? So we have to evaluate that. And continue to problem solve the impacts of early dismissal with our city and the community. So those are my recommendations. Questions? Yes.
I can't remember what schools it was, but the schools that weren't Friday early dismissal, like the late start and then the Wednesday early dismissal.
You want me to-
Yes, please, if you could. Have they said what the benefits were, or why students and parents like those better than Friday early dismissals? Yeah, Stanwood, Wednesday late start, and then.
I think it's all
Yeah.
fine.
Well, it sounds like Wednesday. Yeah.
Well, I know that as at the cabinet and the leaders within the system, we felt that in the midweek it would be better, not that it's late arrival or early dismissal, one or the other. But just having it in the middle of the week, because Fridays might be more tempting to just not come to school, right? So, but we realize it's easier for families if they're going to plan.
Gonna be traveling.
So that's a concern. We don't want to really put anything that would cause people to not come to school.
Right.
That's not the intent, but the late start, I've actually been in a system before where we did have a late start and it worked well. The late start does work well. And we just wanted to make sure it worked with our bus system and it would work with our buses. So
So if we did late start, would we still get out at 2:30, but start school at like 9:15 or something like that?
we reverse it, yeah.
Right, okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah. So just as informational, it's just to give you a little bit of information before I bring the calendar. And we also are gonna make sure we counted the number of Fridays. There's 34 Fridays, because any time like that we do early dismissal, we cannot count that as instructional time. We have to subtract that. And no matter what schedule we do, we have to make sure and that our students are receiving at least an average of 1,027 hours of instructional time for the whole year.
If we're working together with like the city and considering the impact down there, is there communication with what the survey results are with them as well, so they know like where we're, what the community is saying? Because it feels like there's been a lot of conversation around that, and all the work that, Britt's had to do is amazing. But I'm just wondering like how we could kind of get more on the same page, or, it's,
Like a PSA, like,
Yeah.
this is why we're doing it, this is.
I don't really hear a lot of feedback from the city regarding like this part of the process, so I'm just wondering if that could be a consideration,
No,
considering all the issues that are.
no, I agree. And I know that we did have there was some meetings in relationship to this, and then we did share at that time just verbally that there were survey results, you know, that showed Fridays as the number one choice. They didn't know that. So I think you're right, that it's important somehow. Why did we make the decision, you know, and kind of the historical perspective of that. And so I can talk to Mayor Tolbert and see if there's a way, you know, to share that, or what would be the best way, maybe in a newsletter, if they have an electronic newsletter.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, but they do it on Thursday, Friday, maybe even. Yeah, I think staying ahead of the conversation, I think it shows us being proactive and saying, these are our considerations. This is what led to us making the decision in the first place, and giving some of the historical context. I remember specifically the conversation with Mark Rosen, and I think Mary and I were both like, yes, Friday, and he's like, I think Wednesday. I'm like, no, I think Friday is a better day, Mark. So yeah, I'm thinking in the teacher realm. I think too, myself as an educator, that I breathe a little better knowing just have to make it to, I mean, Friday's always happy anyway, but just knowing that if I have work to do anyway, I'm getting it done earlier. Wednesday would be like, oh, I thought 2 more, you know, it feels like it lengthens. Dr. Sweeting can attest to all the same number of hours, but it's just that mental lift you get knowing Friday's an early release day. And just to touch on that real quick, Lakewood has been different in that their early release Fridays are contingent upon any Mondays that we have been in school. So if we've had a holiday on Monday, we go to the end of the week and our Friday becomes a full day of Friday, always. And I'm like, you know, in Arlington, you know, so I haven't talked to their board about it, but I've talked with other teachers. I said, that seems a lot for everyone to process. Like, was it Monday? That was a President's Day holiday. Okay. So we have to put a sandwich board every Friday, remind parents that this is an early release Friday. So we are looking from a union perspective of saying it's automatically early release Fridays.
The 75 minutes there.
Yes,
I think we're trying to mitigate that so that it's a regular, consistent schedule. But I'm not sure how the 60 minutes, if that's going to be in that.
Yeah.
One thing that a staff member brought up to my attention was that our Apple preschool kids don't come on Fridays. And so if we changed it and made a different day, a smaller number of hours, it would impact the Apple preschool. Or right now, they don't have to worry about any impacts to.
Oh, so it helps in that
time because
regard.
they're just Monday through Thursday.
Oh, gotcha. That's right.
So it helps them stay consistent.
Yeah, good point.
And 91%, I feel like, I mean, I'm not a teacher, but isn't that an A? Like, that's an A.
That's
So I feel like we're winning something.
a vote of confidence.
That's
Mary.
something. If we can get all the people to agree on something, 91%,
Yes, yeah.
that's
a win.
earth shattering. That is amazing. So thank
You're
you.
gonna pass that levy to 91.
Yes, if we get anything at 90. All right, is there any following questions about the survey or the early dismissal? All right. Next up is our progress towards board and superintendent goals for 22-23. Dr. Sweeting.
So you have them in front of you, and I think Brenda will pull them up for us as well. So this is just a check-in point because we will go over our progress in August as a board during the study session in August, but it's just kind of a place where we can pause and say, how are we doing? So if you notice board goal 1, it is talking about increasing our skills and knowledge about those onboarding modules through the organization that supports us, the WASP. So there's state requires us to be trained in certain areas. And I believe that this is in the works. I think that some of you have
Didn't
completed.
all of us go to at least one during
I
our
think so. I think
conference?
we've
I've done. Oh, yeah, for conference, yeah.
Yeah, I think we've all at least done one, and some of us have done. I've done 2. Yes.
I've done 2.
So that's why I believe that we're making progress.
Yeah,
So
that's
in
good.
August, we'll double check and see where we're at. We'll specifically, give ourselves a score on that. See where we're at. The next one, board goal 2, is that we're going to increase our understanding of the universal design for learning. And what the board had said in August is that they wanted to engage in learning on a regular basis. So we said, okay, we're going to do it at a monthly at a board meeting. And thank you to Carrie Anderson Burke. We have been doing that. We've been engaging in that learning through Carrie, but also we've been seeing it in action through the students. We have had opportunity for the students to come and demonstrate how the universal design for learning has helped them learn better. So that's been good. So I think we're making good progress towards that goal, and any of you can share your thoughts too of any of these goals. The next one is the budget. This is a place where we really wanted to engage our community in all ways of our money situation and our budget and giving us feedback. And I really believe that we have opened the door here. And partly it's due to our challenge, the $5 million plus budget challenge that we've had to. But we've had numerous opportunities this year, even before we're to the approving the regular budget. We've had a budget advisory task force, which is still meeting. They're going to meet next week to look at what the legislators have come up with and wrapping up the session. We have had community forums. We've had meetings with departments and staff. So we've had, I think we've really increased our efforts in there. And I know some of you have been able to attend those community forums for sure. So we're doing well on that. Can we do more? Yes, we can always do more, always. Board goal 4. This is where we take time to review the results of the student achievement and performance. And we do this by looking at the data, but not just the pure data, but the disaggregated data. So are there certain groups of students that are not performing? So are there some gaps in looking at students who may be socioeconomically disadvantaged in some way, or are community rental students? And we look at the data. Are there any gaps? Do we look at different groups of students in any way? So we've done that. We've actually done it throughout the year, but we did official look at that in the fall and then mid-year, and then we'll do it again at the year end. The last goal is having us participate in the voices and listening to our stakeholders and using that information to make better decisions. And many of you have participated in the student voices opportunities and also the community voices. We just want more of our community to be involved in our community voices. And we do have the staff voices as well. So we'll get more creative in this as we can, but it's an opportunity. So any other thoughts or comments about the board goals? Okay, we're going to do we'll dig into them more in August. So on the superintendent goals, many of them align to what I've just described. So the first one is just building that relationship between myself and the board. And so I do that in many ways by keeping you informed and also by having opportunities for you to participate on those different activities, like the voices opportunities, also being on district committees. And so that's one way. So that's in the works. Goal 2 is engaging. This is the same really as the board goal number 4. It's looking at the disaggregated data, checking where the students are having some challenges in learning, but then where are they excelling? Where are they growing and where are they doing well? And then the third goal is facilitating our understanding about the area of equity and culturally responsive practices and inclusionary practices. So when we say equity, that we define that as a district as removing barriers to learning and increasing access to learning. And we have these little equity, we have charts up here that say decision-making using equity lenses. And basically the questions are things like, will this decision redistribute access to a student's opportunity for success? As we're making these decisions, we can ask ourselves these questions. So we created these questions in mind. And we also, the Speak Up training that was, it's been presented to our staff, and our students have been involved because they've been involved in sharing their stories that are connected to that. And we've seen evidence of this. We've had the last board meeting, we had our students talk about inclusionary practices at their school and how that's helping them. Finally, the last is on the voices, and I just say, yes, that's just in lines with the board thought. So that's kind of where we at. Any other thoughts on that?
We've been busy.
So that's concludes that.
All right, any questions about our board goals or our superintendent goals? Any thoughts or? Next up is our informational items. We'll start with our superintendent's report.
So this last weekend, not this weekend, but the weekend before, I attended a superintendent's conference and a women's conference. And one of the speakers was talking about authentic leadership. And I really liked the talk. Talked about the impacts that we can have as leaders when we're authentic and what that really means. And so that was great. We also had a speaker who talked about recalibrating the culture by making sure you know your why, your values, and why you do this work together, and making sure that you have, effective processes and protocols. That was great conference, well worth the time. I also wanted to share that we received a thank you note since I'm the secretary of the board. So, and it's signed by students, and it says, "Dear Dr. Sweeting and board, thank you for fixing the dryer in the girls' bathroom and taking the tetherball pole out. Sincerely," it has all the students' names. So you remember the students at SBLC came and they and also sent a letters that they had some concerns about the facility, and we've addressed some of those concerns. Others are in the works, but they sent us that part. So we have that around. And the legislatures did wrap up, and I know that Sherry will say a little bit. So that's all I have.
I think so. That brings us to our legislative update and discussion.
Um,
Director Kelly.
Yes, Director Kelly. So when I talked, I think I mentioned this when I was on Zoom the last meeting, that essentially we have 217 permanent and legislative positions. We have two categories. And I shared with Dr. Sweeting last week that I'm very new in my role, and I feel like what's set is in really good hands, and I don't feel like I could ask of you or even myself offer up anything really amazing that I would want to change. Instead, I would propose that when we have our hybrid General Assembly, September 22nd and 23rd, that would be a time to look at what's presented. I went to the board members and I said, "What's your top 10?" And I shared with you as well that we're able to change that. If you could say, yes, that one we had, that was a 10, let's make that to a number 1 prioritizing. That's what I would suggest. So I'm going to let that window go, let that pass and see what shows up in September. Just also, I had a really great meeting that 2 weeks ago with Marissa Rathbone, who was our representative with WASDA, and shared with me all the specifics. I'm not going to give you that detail, but all the millions of dollars that were passed in this legislative session. However, what was important to understand was the challenges, and those are many increases that were allotted for do not take into account inflation. Don't really understand that. I think that not really fair if you don't think about that. Inflation sitting out there. Second was recess is required. We all know that's really important to have. So for some reason, the legislature thought that was important that they mandate that. It's already in the works. There was no relief for bond passage. Again, we know that pain. Principals contracts are optional. That's also apparently a challenge. And the one challenge, school board meetings must be audio recorded. And we do what we're doing, and I think that's great. So for some schools, maybe that's a little bit of a hiccup. Also, as I was scanning through this, I said, oh wait, Marissa really wanted us as reps to say thank you to our legislative representatives in Olympia for all that they have done to support us. I'm like, oh, that's right, I was supposed to do that. So I am on that now, and I will be sending that to Ron Rizal, Dave Paul, and Clyde Shavers. They had a town hall last week. It was on Zoom, and my daughter attended, I did not. And that was, fruitful. Just to put this out there as well, Dr. Sweeting, if you could work with your staff on finding some dates in the fall. I can invite all 3 of our representatives, but they should be in our schools. And I would like to participate at least on one event if I can. If you could tell me, I'm thinking September, October. They need to know us. They don't really care until they know us. Clyde knows me, I've been to the town hall with Ron Rizal and Dave Paul, great guys. So, yeah, we need to, that's when I want to hear some stories. I want to hear UDL stories. I want to hear special ed stories. I want to hear where the money, we were in, a problematic situation with our staffing because of money and not going to be necessarily a real rosy picture of the following school year, maybe some improvement, but how does that impact us and how can they serve us? They are our representatives. So, so think about those dates and then get back to me. I'm just going to take one more second. Carrie, I have to say kudos to you today. I don't want to get sad thinking of this, but I had a little girl who is my struggle, and she is not necessarily capable at my grade level, even for K. And I think, I just said, oh, it's just really not fair. She's just not at the level I need. So today I was doing sentences, and so I'd say the sentence with sight words, and then she's just not even there. She shows up with her board blank. I said, Bella, I said, what? I'm sorry. My friend, I said, I'm going to hand you the sheet we just did today of the words in the in family, CVC words. So I gave that to her. She came back with the whole thing copied. See? Differentiated. So kudos to you for introducing me. See, it works. Thank you. That's my job.
Thank you, Director Kelly. Next up, we have our comments from our board members. I'd like to start with our student advisor. Kyle, do you have any thoughts or words of wisdom you'd like to share?
Sure. I would just like this Teacher Appreciation Week, so just thank you to teachers and Sherry. I know that you're a teacher at Lakewood, so thank you. It's also Nurses Week, so thank you to the nurses. And then I would just like to say I had Mrs. Stanton when she was an English teacher at Allen, and I was her ASB representative.
Oh,
So it's kind of a
full
blessed
circle.
class. But that's it for me.
Nice, thank you. More stuff.
Well, Kyle couldn't have put it any better than me with Teacher Appreciation Week. We've already started at the high school. I gave 3 of my teachers high fives today. So starting off strong on this Monday. And again, thank you to all the nurses. And I also had Miss Stanton, but I had her when she was a history teacher. And I had Miss Guzman as my leadership advisor. Other than that, I don't think I have any words of wisdom. I look forward to the sun this weekend. I hope you all get the chance to go out and soak it up. And that's all for me. Thank you.
Director Ray, do you have anything you'd like to share with us tonight?
Nothing tonight. Thanks so.
Thank you. Director Dash.
Yes, I just want to say thank you to the students, the teachers who came from Heller and Post. And definitely very touching to see the photos of the teachers come across and the school staff. Having a child in special education, you get to know the school staff really well. I feel like you have more of a relationship, and I just think that I'm just so grateful. And even just with our school tours that we do, you get to see the incredible educators we have, beyond just the certificated staff, but para-educators and everybody who helps support our students. So, and nurses as well, because I have a child with asthma, so I get to talk to Krissa a lot. And so I'm just so, as a parent, I don't usually put on the parent hat on the board. I am entirely grateful.
Thank you for sharing. Director Kingman, any thoughts?
To all of you who might be mothers, happy early Mother's Day. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. I wanted to say, also want to appreciate all the teachers. I can't even begin to fathom how many teachers have affected my life. My grandma was a teacher. My grandpa was a teacher and a principal. I've had a million teachers. I still have teachers because I'm still in school. My kids have had so many teachers, and they have impacted our lives, and they feel like they're part of our family. And they're near and dear to our hearts. So so grateful for all the teachers that have made an influence, and their effects are lifelong. My third grade teacher came to my dad's funeral a few years ago, and just those connections, they just last forever. So also I work at a hospital, and then we're appreciating our nurses a lot, and our school nurses. Wow, 36,000. I remember when there was a recent addition in our local area with a new medical clinic that opened up, and they were so proud of themselves for seeing 21,000 patients in 1 year. And that was a whole big medical clinic, and our nurses saw 36,000 just this year. So I'm just astounded and blown away, and so incredibly grateful for their hands and their eyes and their feet and their hearts taking good care of our kids. I also want to say that I was very privileged to be in attendance at our elementary principals and our 4th and 5th grade parent preview night last Thursday, and I'm just incredibly impressed by the care and concern of our community, our families, and the loving support of our teaching staff, and the good things that they are doing to help our children grow up good in our community. And I just want to say I appreciate the kind, good words that were spoken, and the wonderful community that we live in, and that we are partnering with. And so so grateful for so many people that we have the privilege of rubbing shoulders with. So I just wanted to share that. I'm looking forward to visiting some more schools tomorrow, and I'm hoping I don't embarrass any of my kids that I might see. Just want to remind you that we have our next meetings coming up. Is our, it's not clicking. It's May 15th is our special study session, and it's at 5 p.m. next Monday on hopefully a sunny day. And then our next regular board meeting is Monday, May 22nd at 6 p.m. right here, also in the board room. And the study session is in the Lincoln room upstairs. With that, I'm going to ask that we convene an executive session. So I have to read a little script. We will now recess this meeting so that the board may convene in an executive session to review the performance of an employee. I estimate the executive session will last approximately 30 minutes, during which time no final action will be taken. Following the executive session, this meeting will be reconvened for the sole purpose of adjournment. So those of you that are in the audience, you're welcome to stay, but you don't have to. But we'll be back in about 30 minutes. Yeah, let's start it.
How was your feeling? It was very fun. I was so excited to go to the meeting. I figured you probably could have left. I was here for you. So exhausted, yeah. The timing never worked out. You know. What problem? I did, yeah. Oh, wonderful. We had a fan. They're just
All right, welcome back. We have adjourned our executive session for the purpose of reconvening this regular board meeting for the purpose of adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, can we vote on that?
Mike Ray,
Mike Gray is gone.
Director Kelly,
Aye.
Director Kingman.
Aye.
President Levesque,
Aye.
Director Nat.
Aye. Thank you. Meeting's adjourned. Drive